Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another Overwatch 2 video here today to talk about Ashe. She is honestly a great DPS. She is one of the best in the game right now for a myriad of reasons. Like I mentioned in my last video where I was talking about Moira, where Zen and Lucio were getting kind of all the attention post the big patch, where, you know, she was third or even sometimes second when it comes to performing and win rates. Ashe is the DPS side of that coin, where your Tracer and Genjis and Pharah's, due to just her high win rate, even sure she doesn't have a high pick rate, they're getting all the attention, and Torbjorn as well. Torbjorn has fallen a bit off in the last coming weeks, and Pharah has gone a bit up as more people are learning how to play her. You know, from bronze to plat, Pharah and Torbjorn are the best performers, but then once you get past plat, it's Pharah, Tracer, Genji until you get to Grandmaster, where Pharah super drops off precipitously, as she always does in GM, right? And that's where Echo starts to really pop off, and Ashe actually claims the third spot. But until you get to GM, Ashe is in that fourth spot behind Pharah, Tracer, Genji in pretty much all of the ranks, right? Even in plat, she ends up being in third behind Torbjorn. So her win rate ability is not one that is being talked about. I mentioned last time that I was a little weary about what she was going to be like post the big patch that changed everything with the health pools and the DPS passive, because she was single shot character. All the single shots were just going to be at a disadvantage to the rapid fire shots as far as like DPS goes, because they can't apply the anti-heal nearly as much, because they're going to, anytime they miss, that's downtime to the DPS passive, and they're just not going to be able to shoot nearly as much. But the Dynamite absolutely made up for it, because when you hit with the Dynamite, you're just going to have that DPS passive going, as well as the damage tick for the 5 seconds that burn is applied. So while you're not going to be able to just like rapid fire and hit everything like Genjis and soldiers are with their weapons and the big projectile buff that those got, the Dynamite almost makes up for it. My Ashe has almost met my Soldier when it comes to damage per 10 minutes. And if you take a look at the data that's available right now, she's only like 200 to 300 less damage per 10 minutes than Soldier at every single level. That gap gets smaller and smaller and smaller the higher in rank that you go, to where I think in like GM it's only like 100 something difference in damage per 10. So the better and better you are at Ashe, the gap between her and Soldier lessens. And I think that's the best comparison to have for Ashe is Soldier, because obviously Soldier is just easier to play. The lower you go, Soldier is going to be better, because he's just straight up easier. He's guaranteed easy value. He's got a rapid fire, high damage primary fire. He's got a way better alternate of fire with the Helix rocket and compared to the Dynamite, which, you know, can miss, and sure, it can hit multiple targets, which has its own added benefit. But as far as like single targets go, it's not going to do as much damage. Cracking shields, hitting a tank, or finishing off a squishy, things like that. It's not going to be as good in those circumstances, and his ultimate is going to get more consistent value, because Bob can get slept, Bob can get a shield thrown in his face, it can get booped out of position, or it can just get annihilated super duper quickly, as this Bob does right here. Even with a bubble, it doesn't last 3 seconds, right? So Bob can get shut down pretty easily. Soldier, yeah, sure, he could get slept. Most likely not, because he doesn't need to be up close to pop it, because he's going to be hitting every single shot, so he's not going to be usually an easy target. And maybe, yeah, you run at him with Defense Matrix to put in his face, but like how often is that really going to happen in comparison to how often Bob can get shut down, right? So Soldier has the consistency. He has the ease of use, and he has the ability to control the high ground and have really good value from a Mercy Pocket. But I would argue that Ashe is actually a little bit better with a Mercy Pocket and at controlling the high ground, especially the better and better you are as an Ashe player, or, you know, as a player overall. The better higher rank Ashes, really close that gap with the higher rank Soldier 76s, because they're just going to be hitting more shots, have less downtime on the DPS passive, hitting more headshots and things like that. And I feel like just Ashe isn't limited by what tank the enemy is running, right? Because she's not diveable nearly as much as Soldier. Soldier, sure, he has like the running mobility, but if you're a Doom or Wrecking Ball player, you're looking for a Soldier, because that's an easy kill for you. Because sure, they can run, but they're not going to be able to get away from the initial dive, and they're not going to get far enough away while running to get away from follow-up damage, especially if they're getting punched or rolled on by a ball, right? Or, dove on or alternate fired by a Winston. Whereas Ashe has the coach gun that, as long as you're not hitting a shielded target, or, the Winston that's pre-bubbling before he lands, you're going to be able to boop both them away and yourself away to get that distance to where you don't have to worry about like spamming your primary gun from the hip in order to get damage, because you don't want to like miss a single ADS shot and then die, whereas you can like fan 3 hip fire shots and maybe, combined with your teammates, scare them away or possibly get the kill. The coach gun gives you the ability to not have to worry about that in nearly as many scenarios, because you can boot both them away as well as yourself. She can take the high ground and does really, really well with the Mercy Pocket. I do realize that's my second time dying to a Zen volley at long range, and that's, I think, the only 2 times it's ever happened in Overwatch 2, just I guess mainly because people really haven't played Zen historically. But man, I really didn't think they were going to hit the shot either time. And, but that is obviously a super rookie mistake, and that's on me. But that's happened less than 10 times overall. And I think these are the first 2 times it's ever happened in Overwatch 2. But the ability to maintain the high ground with Ashe, especially with the Mercy Pocket, I feel like is stronger than Soldier. Because if you get dove on by a DPS or a tank, she can get away easier from her coach gun, as well as get back to the high ground a lot more quickly by being able to coach gun right back up, depending on like obviously how high it is. But like Soldier can't do that. Soldier has to give up the high ground, and if he wants to get back, he's gonna have to run back up the way he came. Whereas Ashe can just coach gun her way back up. As you can see, I'm right up here, hit the dynamite on the Mercy. I'm able to get away, and I'm not like weak at all at this point. I maximized my time and my space, and then when she drops to the low ground, I'm getting dove by the Tracer. I get her almost killed to get a little help from the Ana there. And when the Zarya gets too close with that beam, I have the coach gun at the ready. So she's just not nearly as vulnerable as something like a Soldier or a Widowmaker can be, or a Hanzo in many circumstances. Look, the Zarya was just PO'd because I was just wrecking everybody. I was doing so well on that high ground, and it wasn't good enough to knock me off the high ground. They had to kill me, but it cost them their lives. And guess what, guys? We're going to take that trade every time. If you're a squishy and you can sacrifice yourself to get the tank to kill themselves, put them in a really bad position to where they're going to die, we take those. That's a dub. I'm sure I died, but that's a dub. We got the tank to get themselves killed, and they were at a high charge. Maybe they almost had their ultimate and they would have gotten it if they lived a little bit longer. I'm not too sure. But hey, we'll take that trade anytime. And these Somers and these Tracers trying to come at me, the coach gun, again, is just invaluable. It's just such a good kit. It's not going to do much damage. It's almost never going to get you a kill unless, you're getting a boop off of the ledge somewhere they're not expecting, the coach gun, because they're worried about like Zens and Fars and Doomfists and things like that as far as getting booped off. But its ability to reposition yourself, reposition the enemy is just really strong. Being able to regain high ground to help somebody that is in a bad position. Your Baptiste that's on the high ground and they throw down their lamp because they just really want to do damage. You can get up there and help them when they get dove on by the Sombra or the Tracer or things like that. Help them kill the Pharah that they're trying to shoot out of the sky before their umbrella goes down. Or the tank that's having a hard time, holding this corner. You get up to that high ground position a lot faster than many of the other DPSs. And as far as like the flankers go, that are really strong. Obviously, we got, some nerfs from today's patch or yesterday's patch that came out. Ashe's ability to quick turnaround, spam from the hip or headshot from the ADS position, as well as coach gum them away, it can help because you're not going to be usually up front because you want to maintain your distance to where your gun's damage is going to be better than their gun's damage at a consistent value, right? You don't want to be in Cassidy's best range. You don't want to be in Reaper's best range or May's best range, things like that. You want to be at your best range. So you're not usually going to be up front with your tank. So you can often peel for your supports, which is not something almost any character in Overwatch 2 really consistently say. Your tanks can't afford to peel in most circumstances because they have to deal with everything. They have to deal with the enemy tank. They have to deal with the enemy supports. They have to deal with the enemy DPS. Tanks are expected to do everything. And if you as a DPS can just get one less thing off of your tank's plate, if you take one thing off their plate to where they can concentrate on the enemy tank or that support that keeps leaving themselves vulnerable, then that's absolutely fantastic for you. This Sombra and this Tracer, they were having a pretty bad time going after our backline. You know, they're going to be successful from time to time, sure, but I had a pretty decent time at keeping them alive with my coach gun or just damaging those flankers enough to where the Tracer has to recall, the Sombra has to translocate away. And while, you know, Bob's not going to be one of the best ultimates and he can get shut down, he can contest cart. He can force overtime. He can, you know, keep overtime going while you're waiting for your tank to come back from spawn. You know, they switch to ball so they can get there fast enough, but Bob can contest long enough to wait for them to get there. So while he might not be amazing at damage, getting multi-kills, he can still apply the anti-heal himself while you're applying anti-heal as Ashe, and you're contesting the cart. You don't have to be on that cart. You don't have to be on that point. You can take a different angle, wait for your supports to come heal you because you're weak, wait for your tank to come and sustain onto the point while Bob is just kind of holding it down. So while he's not a great ultimate, it definitely has that niche that can absolutely and has saved me several games. Just contest, start the overtime, because I can send him to point faster than I can get there if I have a straight shot line of sight onto that objective, right? You can get them there, you know, hopefully they don't run off, you know, map depending, but it has that ability, my ability to get to high ground really quickly. Tracer, she's going to have the ability to really outduel me up close, right? Not if I'm hitting headshots, not if I'm forcing her blinks by hitting my shots from the hip and then, you know, clearing her out. She can do well against flyers. She can help the supports from getting flanked, and she can help the tank against the other enemy tank. The ability to hit headshots on the Zarya when she didn't have bubble was huge. The ability to hit a Ramatra when he's not in Nemesis form is big. Bad positioning by me there. I should have known where the pulse bomb was. But, you know, mercy to the rescue. The ability to hit a Sigma who doesn't have either of his cooldowns in the head. It's huge. This Zarya, she has to burn both bubbles. I hit her in the head once or twice. She's got no more overshield. She's got to pop that first bubble. I wait for it to burn off. I shoot the dynamite. It forces her second bubble if she has it. And if she doesn't, she's burning, she's dying. I'm getting some sort of other damage support from my tank or the DPS or things like that. She's getting antied or booped or whip shot or something. We're able to get the job done in that circumstance, or she's just blown both of her bubbles very, very quickly. And maybe she has high charge. I can coach gun myself away to where that's not an issue and then hit her in the head over and over again since she has no bubbles left. So Ashe is absolutely fantastic, being a little bit slept on because of the attention the top achievers are getting, but the higher and higher you go, you're seeing more Ashe and more success out of her and more damage. Her ability to apply damage, apply that passive, be good at so many different ranges and against and with so many team comps makes Ashe one of the best characters to play right now from the damage role.